Hi,
Hi,
Twitch.
Twitch. Again,
This
Hope
is
the fall.
it's a product meeting, so we're gonna discuss the product and get very technical.
I'm so confused by the penguins. Like, I feel like they're users.
Okay, let's get this show on the road.
Now that's a point with non-player characters, right? They have to feel like they could be an avatar.
All right,
We can be happy
everybody.
that they didn't make us wear like fish suits or something, like with the penguins. That would have been very dangerous.
We're getting started, so let's cut down the chatter, if you know what I mean. And you can chat, but not out loud. Okay, welcome to the product. I'm gonna switch to my normal voice. Hold on.
Because I want to check my microphone. You hear me? Everything is okay. What the?
Yeah, why don't I go first? Talk about what we're doing right here. Can everybody hear me? Is my mic working? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Sweet. Yeah. So definitely. Yeah. So this is something that we've been doing internally during our all hands meeting. Basically, we've been trying out a couple of things wherein we kind of constrain the avatars that everybody's using to kind of test out the performance, see how that changes. One thing that we are shooting for is increasing, the number of users in an instance, and also kind of scaling events to like, thousands of users. So this is one of the initial tests that we're doing. We've done a couple of versions already, just a couple of weeks with different kinds of. I don't know if it was shared in Discord, but there was one time where we even all wore one of the shark avatars, and then basically we had a room full of sharks. So it was very interesting. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So I also would like, at the end of this, would like to get everybody's reaction on this whole exercise. Like, what do you think about it? And also, like, I know you're all used to having your own avatars. Like, how do you feel about being asked to wear a specific avatar to an event? Yeah. But we can get that feedback after this event. Cool.
That I enter to your. But you hear me? Everything is okay with my microphone because I want to check my microphone, please.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, so thank you
You're a
very
bit
much.
far though.
Thank you very much, and keep doing what you want to say. Where you come from?
All right. So let's move on. So the latest fixes. What broke and what has been fixed? Who is up to talk about that?
It's okay.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit some of that. Yeah, so we had a couple of fixes this last few days after the release to fix a few of the things that broke. I know one of them was the issue with scaling avatars. I think some of you experienced some issues with the hair and also having cone-shaped heads. Those should be fixed now. So if anybody else is still experiencing that issue, please let us know, and definitely we'll get on to fixing that. What else do we have? We also had a couple of fixes in relation to the full body trackers. I know there was a couple of issues initially where a lot of people or several people were having issues making that work. That should be working fine now. And the known issue that we had previously listed on the documentation page should be fixed. And for those who don't know, the issue was that the Vive trackers could not be recognized in Sensor, and so now that should be working now. Yeah, cool. I think the biggest fixes that we have were a couple of updates for events, and we have Bowden to speak about those changes. Bowden, would you like to talk about that? Is Bowden here?
It's hard to see anybody.
My list says Bowden is not in here.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Well, in that case, let me speak about it then.
Right. What? How long time you in this game? Are you new in this game? You explore this game? Tell me about what.
Okay, so this is mostly for the product team to chat, but we will gather questions and deal with feedback as soon as Kara's done talking, and then we got to cover some other things. So please save your questions till the end there. We'll get to them. Kara, go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, so we have a couple of new features and fixes with regards to events. One is that we've added new tokenization to events to kind of validate and verify that an event has been added or removed from your calendar. So that kind of some feedback right there. And the biggest thing here is that we now have a people indicator or a counter of how many people are in an event. So I know that in the past, like a lot of people could not find where people are at because we didn't have counters for events specifically. So now people can find us whenever we are in a product meetup or any kind of event in Sandstar.
Which is really
That's about it. Yeah.
People can see who's at events, and hopefully that'll increase some event attendance for you folks.
Yeah.
I know that I've
Yes,
seen
there are
some.
41 people here now.
If that's what it says, it's probably right.
Mm-hmm.
Unless we have a random number generator, but I don't think that's the case.
What is
Sweet.
the target of this event?
I'm sorry?
What is the target event? This is a special event, no?
Yes.
Okay, so what is the target? Just meeting new people and with the penguins?
I see. No, we're talking about the changes in the platform. We've made some some feature improvements and fixed some gameplay, and so we're just talking about that, and we'll gather feedback later. So please, save your questions to the end, and we will totally get to those. Okay, so we've talked about some of the new fixes we've made. What about the LOD system release?
Yes. Next, would you like to talk about that?
I would love to talk about that. I am so excited for it. So we have a release that is coming up very soon, which will be the first time that we are going to be turning on our LOD system. We've been doing a lot of testing internally. For this release, it's only going to apply to avatars. And so what's going to happen is when you bake your avatar, we're going to generate several levels of detail. And the further away someone gets to you, will drop down to a lower triangle density, and hopefully that will save on geometry. We've done a lot of tuning to make sure that to minimize any visual effects, to minimize the pop you might see when we're changing LOD levels, and so far the results are looking really great. So we're really excited to get this in the hands of users. We're hoping that it's going to have a non-trivial bonus to performance, especially in crowded environments such as meetings like this. And we're going to keep iterating on additional things that can allow us to better support more avatars in a single instance going forward. But yeah, that's coming real soon. We're doing final QA on that pretty much as we speak, and we're going to get it out before the next major release.
Kara, I was told that there was event stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Specifically about the things in the point release that we wanted to talk about, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't have you earlier, so I spoke about it a little bit, what they were. If you want to provide more information, please go ahead.
Well, they're pretty simple. If anyone has questions, I can take questions about those points. But yeah, I doubt it needs more explanation. I also don't want to repeat what's already been said. Any questions for event stuff?
All right, looks like we're all.
Oh, sorry, my mic was muted.
I have a question for about the LOD stuff.
One person said their mic was muted. Did you?
Sorry, yeah, no, it was mine. I was just curious. They're still not in any sort of chronological order, which would make sense. Is that being changed or no? I know we talked about it before, but I just want to see if that's still on the table.
Yes, the featured sort order is on the table at the moment. What it was planned to be is featured events first, and then just user-created events. And the penguin's pushing me out of the way. And then just user-created events after the featured content, and then it's chronologically based.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. All right. I think the floor is for everyone else now.
That's right. Okay, so I have one thing before we continue to the feedback and questions. We did have an avatar contest, so I'll be getting feedback on this later as well. An avatar contest that we launched about a month ago, and those avatars were to be featured in a new user carousel. We had a prize and everything. However, I think as of this morning or last night, we haven't had any entries into it. So I want to make sure I understand why that is, because I know we've had avatar contests in the past that people have participated in. So if we weren't clear about what it was for, or the prize, or sort of any of that, I want to know, sort of what caused people to not participate, so we can make that more valuable or useful for you in the future. And then,
Some of the
Well, I
confusion
think
was
the
whether
reason
avatars could be
is
dressed or
pretty
not.
obvious.
Go
Did
for
they
it.
have to be?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Well, as an avatar creator, nobody wants to make an avatar that nobody else has to make. Okay, because for the avatar contest, you guys are requiring that we put clothing and hair and all this other crap that's on there, and that's not how a normal avatar is made here. You wear the clothing. You don't just make avatars with clothing. So what avatar would go through what creator would go through the trouble to make one?
I want avatar like me, but it's good.
Definitely not for 2,800, Sansar dollars.
28, yeah.
I believe it was 28,000.
Divided by 5.
28,000
Divided by
Sansar dollars,
5,
so it's
I
quite a
think.
bit more than 2,800. But yeah, I mean, so that would have been helpful sooner, because now we've gone a month and we haven't had any. So what can we do?
2,800, that's like 3 hours of my time. That's
Yeah.
what you would get for
The idea-
2,800, okay.
The idea is that you'll have a space in the carousel, which is in itself something like a marketing tool as well, to kind of get your brand out there, because we do kind of, we do a call out to the creator of the avatar. The main point too is that, this is an avatar a user can use like right off the bat. That's why, and it doesn't go through the, so basically the avatar carousel doesn't go through the editing flow. So for a first time user, if they pick an avatar from there, they go straight to the home space and are directed to the social hub. So essentially, if they didn't have clothing, they'd be coming in naked in the social hub. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to work that way. You guys just want to push these avatars out to people. You could set it up so that those avatars are dressed avatars instead, and at any point later in the time, they could go back and change the clothing or whatever. It's just how it's set up right now. I understand you guys want to push this to them.
Right.
It's not, it's not an avatar that anyone would keep, because you can't change it.
Well, there is a difference, though. Like, let's say, these avatars that we're wearing right now, like the octopus, the skeleton, and the ladybug, like, they don't really need clothing per se. So, like, these kinds of avatars, are definitely encouraged without clothing. The clothing requirement is really for any kind of human type avatars, kind of like what we have, like the base avatars that we have, which really, in social norms, it's not really ideal. It's not ideal that they're naked, but if like the skeleton, like it's fine that it's naked because it's in itself like not really showing any skin or anything like that. So it's a little bit more acceptable, and people can add clothing at that point if they want to, but if they don't, then it's fine as well.
I know one creator who's gone through.
It's just that the carousel avatars need to be dressable avatars, not just regular
Right.
throw on and use one time, you know.
I know of one creator who's gone through and just submitted another one. I don't know if they've entered the contest with it, but it's their second female avatar that's fully dressed. So, you know, there are a couple there, and I know Serb's created a couple of free ones as well.
Right.
Well, that was another point that I made early on, though, that if people have to register to be in the contest, you're going to get less registrations. You know?
And also, I mean, in my case, I would never join because I don't really want to go up against people who literally do 3D content for a living. Because that's crazy. They can put out so many amazing things so quickly.
I have a question.
It feels hopeless.
I think it would be nice, too, if we did get the carousel as regular avatars, you know, that we could dress, that everyday users could be in the contest, you know, dressing up a nice avatar, putting together a nice one.
Okay, that's good feedback.
Yeah.
So we'll take that into account. We're probably going to extend this and make some changes.
So one thing I want to point out as well is that there's no stopping you from creating an undressed version as well that you can sell in the store. The idea is like maybe you can consider creating the same avatar, have an undressed version on the store, and then have a dressed version on the carousel. Just kind of like get your name out there, and then for those new users that come in, just want to come in quickly. And one thing that we've noticed with events is, we have users coming in for events, and they don't really. They're coming in late, they're coming in hot. They don't really have the time to customize the avatar, so they just want to pick an avatar right from the carousel, drive straight into the event. So, just giving it the option to those users who just who doesn't really want to customize right off the bat, but would like to do that later. The idea is if you do sell, an undressed version in the store, then they can always download that version. And I think we did something similar. I think right now we're featuring one of the anime avatars that has clothing in the carousel. And there are also alternative versions in the store without hair, without clothing, that a user can buy if they want to customize it a little bit further.
It's kind of a lot to ask for a creator, though, because in the first place, you have to put clothing on this character. So now you got to get it low enough to be under 40,000 with clothing. And then if you have a version without clothing, you don't want that same low poly mesh for the avatar. You would want a different one, a nicer one, because you have a 40K limit. So to make two different avatars is two workflows.
When you put on the clothing, you can for sure remove all the polygons underneath it. So from the base avatar, it doesn't make so much of a difference, really, like when it comes to that. But I see, also I can imagine for many people it is hard because not everyone wants to do everything, like hair, like clothes, and everything together in one avatar. That's the task, what I think. That's really not easy to do. And so I can see that people have problems with it.
Well, see, the thing is even go ahead. I was just gonna say, I've had problems uploading avatars the past couple months because I've been creating them steadily, but every time I go to upload, even I have troubles with the limits, even though I've reduced everything instead of increased it. It's a hassle for me.
I was just going to say something other. The amount of time for all the skill sets and putting stuff together, and how much time, how many people here in Sansar can devote to content creation or creating things out of their, they're working their daytime job or whatever else. I don't know.
True, as well.
All right, is that all the feedback that we've got so far? Carrie, do you have anything to say in response to that? I will say, just in response to the, a couple people have mentioned, why should we participate if other people have so much more time? And I know I understand that as sort of from a general perspective, right? It's why some people pay to play video games instead of earn upgrades or whatever through gameplay. Some people have more time than others, and that's just a fact of life. But I think if you enjoy doing this, it shouldn't stop you from trying. I mean, if you would have entered an avatar into this contest, you would have won because we had no other entries. So those are things that we can't control for, just because those are facts of reality that some people have more time than others. But if you like doing it, I think you should try anyway. That's just a little pep talk from me.
I mean, we're also going up, a lot of us are not professional creators. And we would be going up against professional creators. It's like joining a rocket contest, but don't worry, SpaceX and NASA are going to be there, but I'm sure you'll do fine. You know what I mean?
Well, you would have done well. So that could happen, right? That is a
but
possible
that's by
option.
default. If I'm the only one that goes in and my avatar's a stick, yeah, I'm going to win. But you know what I mean? That's my feeling on it. I don't know if anybody else has that same feeling, but because there's some creators here who are amazing, and I don't begrudge them that, but I'm not going to compete against them because I'm not crazy.
I begrudge them that for you.
I'm a bit like that as well. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's
good
sort
feedback. Yeah,
that's good feedback. Yeah.
Well, I will say that the more, if you have a contest, the more rules you have, the more requirements that have, the less people are going to be able to join. And when you have a mix of different kinds of creators, it just becomes a headache for everyone. Who wants to go through the trouble only to not win and get nothing out of it? So you did all that effort for nothing.
Yeah, there's a personal perspective there that I think everybody is sort of responsible for in their own life, and I sort of get the average that we're hearing right now of what that is. So I guess the next question is.
Point, I'll just make a quick point that if you do have contests, it would be nice to have prizes not just for the top 3.
Yep.
Maybe 10 deep would be nice.
Yeah, that's a good point. Even points for or something for
My kids
entering.
used to have that. And the last first place getter is everyone gets a ribbon.
I just know
We're there.
For me,
Good job.
For like me, it's like I wrote myself off on it because it's like between what I do have going on and how much extra things I'd have to learn to even give it a stab was just like nope, can't do that within 4 weeks.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
me personally, because it's like I haven't done with all the rigging, then you have to do the hair, the clothing, all this extra stuff, the texturing, for skin textures or whatever you got to come up with. And it's like, the idea, the concept, fighting the software, trying to figure it all out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I mean, I'm just saying it's like this reason why, somebody like me would be like, oh no, I can even have an open window at this.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I guess what we'll be taking away from this for the avatar contest, it's probably time to move on to the next thing. There's a couple things that people are saying that you don't lose anything by entering except time. And I guess that was your choice. You opted into it, but you could sell it on the store and future people could buy it. Advertising yourself is always important. So those are things to keep in mind as well. And there's some other points being made on Twitch that I'm sure somebody will drag over here. But also, so we should also probably figure out what would be an incentive enough for folks to enter contests. Because the last thing I want to do is draft up a whole legal document for a contest that nobody enters. And we want to see everybody, be creative and commit stuff to the store. Okay.
I think everyone should have to do the maths competition, not just the Canadians.
I'm sorry, Canada.
Nix, I did have a quick question about LODs. Have you guys considered giving the users some control over those LODs and when they switch?
Yeah, we've definitely considered it. The first version that we're releasing is going to be automatic in terms of both generation of LODs as well as when they switch. We're not opposed to possibly allowing some configuration options in the future, so users can control those distances potentially. But we're starting with an automatic system, seeing how that works, gathering user feedback, and definitely let us know what you notice and what you'd like, and we'll definitely take that feedback into consideration.
Nick, on the lowest LOD, does it jump down to avatar or imposter, or is it really over triangulated but you can't see it from a distance?
We don't have an imposter system for this pass, at least. It's something that we might consider doing at some point in the future, but we do have 5 levels of LOD generated. So at the lowest level of detail, it is cutting down quite a few triangles. So it's not a full imposter system, but it should be a substantial mesh reduction if someone's way off in the distance.
Oh, cool. Well, it sure beats having jelly dolls here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a quick question on like the future object LOD system.
Sure.
I mean, I'm always talking about controls, giving us more controls. It would be super awesome if we had some control over those LODs with a slider or something, you know.
Mm-hmm. I'll definitely make sure the team takes that feedback into consideration when we start designing non-avatar LEDs.
It'd be nice to have a blend zone during the LOD switch when it comes to landscapes. So, you know, things like textures and all those will not be overly compressed when you're still too close to see it.
Understood, and we definitely know that larger objects are going to take up more screen real estate, and so once we start talking about LOD for entire scenes, then we need to take relative size into consideration as well. It's not a big deal for avatars since there is a bounded range of sizes generally for avatars, but definitely for scenes you have to take that more into consideration.
Yeah, maybe some things that the avatars are wearing as accessories, like wings, may be overly more obvious than, say, jewelry like earrings and things like that. So they may have to have a slightly different scale for the LOD based on size, even for accessories.
Good point. Good point.
Okay, I guess we're going full blown into questions now. Let me make sure.
Did you expect anything less?
No, I was wondering if we had any more.
No, you know what I think the biggest problem is with the Avatar contest? I'm going to get into philosophical questions now. I think it's a lot of the problem is that most of us here in Sansa are 40 plus, and I think once you get to over 40, you start to value time more than money. And you know, probably if the population was generally under 40, you'd probably have a lot more entries. That would be my guess.
Well,
need Viagra.
If all of you started having children, we could repopulate Sansar. So start thinking about it.
Making Sansar great again.
That's a good point. I do think that the time distinction is funny and is valid actually. So okay, so we've got other questions coming in. Let's see what we have. Sort order for featured events. Sorry, I was doing a couple things, so if these have been answered, let me know. Somebody's got a very hot mic. It's a hot mic, so if you could just monitor your mic levels and the noise you're making, that'd be fantastic. Okay, sort order for featured events. They must be broken somehow. Thoughts? Anybody want to take that?
I think the events page or in the summary page.
I think Bowden spoke to this a bit earlier, but I think he had to run. I believe we still have an update for the sort order that should be coming out soon. I do think we are going to put the featured events first, and then user-generated events after that. But we are going to get the sort order much simpler, much more straightforward. So hopefully it'll make a lot more sense soon.
Excellent, cool. For Mojo Dallas on Twitch, how about not counting the event experiences against your total experiences you can have? Again, that might be a Bowden question who's dipped out here.
Would be a great idea. I have encountered that too. I'll look into that one.
That was Leslie talking. Okay, thanks, Leslie. MedHugh asked this question out loud. Did we get a good answer on that? Can the user have control in the LEDs? I believe we answered that. From Entity on Twitch, Entity had quite a few comments about the avatar contest. One of them is, some artists are featured and others are not. Who picks and why? Kara, do you have an answer to that?
Are we talking about the carousel? I'm assuming it's on the carousel.
I assume so. That's right. Because it was in response to the avatar conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically, we just the internal team just picks randomly. There are also some of these selections we have. There also we partnered with some of the creators, which is why there are some there that are from the same artist, because we partnered with that specific creator to create some avatars for that purpose.
Okay.
Yep, and that's also the reason why we've. So basically, what we have in the avatar carousel right now is just based on whatever we had on the store at that time, and that is also why we have a strong push for this avatar contest, because we do want to feature more avatars on the carousel. But one difficulty that we are finding is that, since we opened up pressing custom avatars, a lot of the avatars on the store that's been added has been mostly been, avatars similar to the base avatar, humans basically with no hair, no clothing, which is kind of making it difficult for us to feature it, because for the same reasons we talked about earlier, in the flow, the first-time user will not be able to dress that custom avatar immediately. And so the idea is we'll only feature those that have clothing. And so we are kind of restricted right now with what's available in the store. The idea, though, is that every month we are going to rotate the contents of the carousel. So that's why we are going to change it relatively soon towards the end of the month. And the idea from this carousel is that, the contest is that we'd get 5 picks from the contest and then feature that from on the carousel to give everybody a more equal opportunity to get featured there.
When I get taken off the carousel, do they go back up for sale in the store? Can you repeat the question, Kara?
I think somebody asked if when they get taken off the carousel, can they be sold again in the store? And I assume that's for a price. Is that what your question is?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, definitely. There's no stopping the creator who's been featured on the carousel to sell the item again for a specific price. Definitely, ideally it's only free for the duration while it's in the carousel, but once it's down, then you're free to sell it for a specific price point again. Does that answer the question? Yeah.
And
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
definitely. But the requirement is to be in the carousel. It must be free.
Right. Yeah. So while it's in the carousel, it has to be free, because as a first-time user, you don't really come in with Sansar dollars, and we wouldn't want to make the user to buy Sansar dollars without even experiencing Sansar at all. And so that's the concept is, if it's a free avatar, then they can just, pick from the carousel, buy it for free, and then just hop in without having to deal with buying Sansar dollars first.
I'll just point out that that's an expensive gift that we're giving you as creators. That's why you got no entries into the contest.
Well, we did have a $250 cash prize, so it's not giving.
I feel I gave inadequate feedback a minute ago. Well, I had my computer pressing. Hey, what I think part of the problem is actual promotion and awareness that there's a contest going on, because there's a previous contest that I missed out on that, had I even known about it, I would have entered. But it's like assuming that people know about it or passing the word from via the product meetups or the wiki things or whatever. But it's like some, actual like, like you go into the front of a Sansar website or some interface thing that says, hey, there's a contest in going on, enter it. Promotion of the contest itself.
Okay. Yeah,
so because there's a disconnect, because like all of us, we're like the people which are here frequently, but then like new people that you're new to Sansar, maybe there's a content creator that's like has all the right skills for it, but they're not even aware that there's a contest. Or maybe it's like after the fact, they find out like, oh, I wish I would know about that like 2 weeks sooner. You know what I'm saying?
So that's a good point. I like that feedback. We had put it on our Steam page, and I'd mentioned it in the community a couple of times, and on Discord, and we posted about it. So if there's a better place to get the word out, I do think that.
I like the mass emails you guys send.
Do a YouTube video about it.
Yeah, the mass email you send every time we do a new release.
Or maybe
a
little bit more time for a contest, because it's like, okay, you figure like you announce a contest that it might take like 3 or 4 weeks for people just to start figuring it out that there is a contest, and then they only got like a week or two left to try to cram, 1 week trying to cram in to do something that's going to be good enough quality. You know what I mean?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's great feedback.
Versus doing a rush job and it's like it ends up like a crap product, or like feel like Disney like inferior product, or what I mean.
Yep, that's good feedback. We'll look into that, and we'll figure out better places to post that stuff. I do think that's useful information. Thank you.
I felt what I said before was inadequate.
No, that's great. Okay, so
thanks for the feedback.
We'll start posting it in different places. We'll find, I guess, more apparent places to post it. Okay, good feedback from Silas there as well. Okay, so our next question, let's get through these here. I don't know how to say this name. Asha Sakaya Ra asks, will there be LOD for clothing as well?
So I can answer that. This is Nix. So we're going to apply LOD on avatars after they're dressed and after we have done hidden surface removal. So you're going to put your clothes on your avatar, then we're going to remove any extra triangles that can't be seen, and then we'll do LOD on the result, generating different levels of detail for different distances. So at that point, you don't need to create a specific level of detail for each piece of clothing. We're just going to generate the levels of detail on the entire avatar.
Okay, cool. Entity on Twitch has some feedback. Announce a category or a hero banner advertisement for upcoming summer items, and we can create and submit what we would like to get featured. And Sansar could pick one item from multiple creators. Would be fun, and kind of share the promotion between all qualified creators. That's good feedback. Yeah, we can start working on. I mean, I guess we have to talk internally about this, but talking about community initiatives on the front page of Sansar, or somewhere where everybody can find them. But that's a good idea. Okay. Question: when will we be able to upload skins for the default avatar?
I'm happy to take that one as well. So we are working, as we've talked about before, on a new base avatar, so that we can support things like bone morphing and much more detailed face manipulation. And as part of that project, we are looking into being able to allow users to replace the base skin tone and upload their own, as well as some other fun goodies that we will talk about in future product meetups.
Ooh, future product meetups. That means we're going to have more of these. Oh, Matthew's got a question.
Well, would we be able to change these textures not just on the new avatar, but on our custom avatars or whatever, or the old avatar?
So for changing textures on custom avatars, that certainly is something that would be nice to have. That might not be in the absolute first version of that, but once we have that tech, then That's a little bit more complicated because then the creators of the custom avatars would have to release UV maps that people could texture over. But we can keep that desire in mind and look at it in the long term.
I think a lot of people are basing their custom avatars on the old body. So a lot of them are using that old UV, and including our dev kit that we have, avatar kit. So I think, a lot of people are going to be using that same UV map.
Yeah, the hope also is that once we allow users to have much more ability to texture the base avatar mesh, as well as being able to change the shape of the body and the face in a lot more detail, that there will be less need to have to re-upload our reference meshes as custom avatars. And so that'll hopefully help with interoperability. But if that is still something that's happening after that point, then we'll definitely look into that.
Okay, great. Archer's question is next. Will we have more attachment slots?
Short answer, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so there is something. So right now, short answer is currently no, there will not be any additional attachment slots, but there is something that we are considering, which is changing the overall requirement for, even just having a max count for attachment slots. So basically we are considering this something we call a weight system. So the idea is maybe, let's say we'll give you a 50,000 triangle budget, and you can fill that budget with as many items as you want. Whether it's attached, clothing, whether it's hair or accessories, you can wear as many as you want as long as you're under that budget. So that's something that we are kind of thinking about right now. But it's
that causes an issue with the MD clothing. If the MD clothing in the system has a lot more triangles than what's allowed, and if I understand correctly, they only get decimated upon baking, then how are you going to calculate the maximum triangle count with the MD clothing?
So we're just starting to talk about what that would look like, and we're gonna keep looking into the details of that. And we don't have all the answers yet on what that system would look like, but we are talking about changing the way that we are limiting avatar content complexity. But that is a good point, and we will definitely make sure to include that in our conversations.
Right.
I don't think it'd be too hard to take a set amount of triangles on an outfit and say, oh, this is generally going to reduce down to a certain level, But it is tricky, for sure.
Okay. Suggestion. This is probably related to the avatar contest as well. Another one from Entity, I believe. Invite the community to participate in a collaborative performance instead of a contest between individuals. Does collaboration sound more... so that's the suggestion. So my question to you all is, does collaboration sound more appealing than a contest?
Good idea.
Oh no, we can't even get on in Discord.
Making a theme like for a project or whatever, and when people then can create like content for it, I think that would be actually like a nice thing. Less stress for the people, and more fun, right?
So I think my initial feedback to that is, it seems like we've got that's like a either end of the spectrum sort of reaction from people that I'm reading and hearing. So my suggestion is, if you want to collaborate with somebody, you go ahead and do it, but we're not going to mandate that, just because some people prefer to work alone. I like to work out alone because I get disgusting and sweaty, so I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, feel free to submit a collaborated effort avatar. That's fine too, and it's up to you how you want to split the winnings if ever
That's right. All right. So that's that. Will we have? What does it say? Will we have sliders of voice for all the users in nearby. So if somebody's really loud, I understand. So when nearby users are talking, sometimes people are super loud, like me when I use my deep voice.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to be able to adjust volume levels for people around you. Is that a thing that's happening? It's a good idea, at least.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's something we talked about too a couple of years back, but currently it's not really in the roadmap.
A few more slots for remotes.
Archer band.
No, I definitely want individual voices on people because, my partner Big Nari, she's quiet. If she's a distance away from me, I would love to turn her up all the way.
I'm quiet.
Uh-oh, trouble in paradise. Pegnagus. What? Well, you two figure that out and let us know how that works out.
Ebby sort of said that he likes the idea of having some more room for emotes. Is that possible?
Can you elaborate more by more room for emotes?
Like at the moment, we can only assign full body emotes to 6 dancers in our system.
Oh, I
It'd be
see.
nice to be able to have a few more than that.
Yeah. We've been talking about adding more emote slots actually internally. As to when that will be, it's still unsure, but that's definitely something we are thinking about doing. Right now, the team is just kind of hands down on the new avatar and implementing the new system. So I think once that's done, we'll get to providing you with more emote slots.